Sir, this is a Jeep. It is this year's model as you requested. I'll give you a bargain. Go ahead, take it for a test drive.
It looks really comfortable. However, before I drive it, tell me, what is this pedal? It seems useless.
No, sir. This is the gas pedal. This is what makes the car run. Is this your first time driving a car?
My first time? Cars are my specialty. What is wrong with you, man? I just think this pedal is useless. Also, what is this? It seems useless, too. The whole car seems to be a random assembly of parts, without any design.
Sir, this button is for cruise control.
Cruise control? Ah. But this part here is certainly useless. Obviously, this car was randomly assembled. It wasn't designed at all.
Come on, man. Aren't you embarrassed by your ignorance? Everything to you is a useless accident. Please step out of the car, sir. This car is no longer for sale. Please get
But
out.
this button is here by chance.
The car is no longer for sale.
Fine. Just tell me what this button is for.
I won't tell you. Get out.
Tell me what it does. You don't even know.
This is it. I'm not selling you the car. Out.
This button is useless. I've embarrassed you and put you on the spot.
This is exactly the situation we face with the evolution myth disciples. When they failed to find signs of randomness around them, they turned to one another to contemplate. Was it to imitate Ibrahim's people? So they returned to themselves and said, "Indeed, you are the wrongdoers." Did they start questioning themselves to realize the falsehood of their myth? No, they focused on their bodies, looking for defects. This is our situation with the myth disciples. They talk about so-called defects in the human design, such as defects in the retina, and the sperm duct and what they call vestigial organs, such as the appendix, coccyx, and others. All these examples of evidence for the precision in Allah's creation are transformed, through ignorance or a pretense of ignorance, into examples of randomness. Will we show that all these are proofs for precision and wisdom in creation? Yes. However, before we do that, let me ask you, what if you had not watched this episode? What if you didn't know how to respond to their examples? Would the myth disciples have embarrassed you until you find an answer? Is it you who is required to provide answers, or it is the myth disciples to explain the fine-tuning in the universe and its inhabitants convincingly? Their method is a logical fallacy called shifting the burden of proof. When an opponent presents a ridiculous, embarrassing argument because it contradicts obvious facts known to all, he may create a diversion by demanding answers for side issues, thus shifting the focus off him and throwing you into the spotlight. Actually, whether you respond or not, his argument remains ridiculous. Your inability to answer does not lend his argument any value. Therefore, dear brothers and sisters, next time you are challenged by the myth disciples to provide answers, you shouldn't rush to investigate the function of these organs as if your failure to provide an answer proves their claim. Instead, ask them to explain how the system, which contains this part, works. For example, when the myth zealots tell you the arrangement of retina cells is wrong, conical and rod cells are photosensitive cells. Therefore, they should be in front to receive light directly. But they are at the back, which forces light to cross non-photoreceptive cells. This proves that the eye came randomly by chance. Here they are parroting Richard Dawkins, who, in his book The Blind Watchmaker, the 2015 edition, mocked the design of the retina, saying that it would offend any tidy-minded engineer. Now, brothers and sisters, when you hear such things and before you get lost in the details and take it upon yourself to research and answer, tell them, first, explain to me how the visual system, which contains the part you object to, works. You must be experts on the visual system to be criticizing its details. That is why you consider this detail a fault and say that a good design requires a different arrangement. Let them explain, if they know anything. Let them talk to you about the eye, how the eye muscles control its lens according to the distance from the image, how these muscle cells are innervated, about its two types of necessary liquids, about the various cells of the retina, rods and cones, of which there are more than 100 million in each eye. This information lingers in my memory from my days as a Ph.D. student, that the design of these cells is more complicated than the most complex factory. Let them explain it to you how randomness could have combined the atoms of 11-cis-retinol in exactly the right formation for the compound to change its molecular structure when light photons hit it. Ask how randomness arrived at the suitable amount for this compound in rhodopsin, the light-sensitive pigment in the eye, and how the eye can precisely capture the visible field of the electromagnetic spectrum to be able to see. Ask how the neural bundles stemming from the retina neurotransmission, image interpretation centers in the brain, image storage in the memory, and the optimal performance of this visual system to provide humans with vision to the degree that the eye can respond to a single photon of light, as in this Nature magazine article. Let them explain, if they know, and watch how they make the case against themselves. If they realize their ignorance, that is good. If not, leave them floundering in their blindness. If you seek guidance, the proof for design in the very systems they claim to have defects is enough. However, Allah leaves a few mysteries among the clear signs of truth for those who prefer ambiguity, depriving themselves of the mercy of Allah. The perverse at heart eagerly pursue the ambiguities in their attempt to make trouble and to pin down a specific meaning of their own. The mind that seeks ambiguity in the Quranic signs also seeks ambiguity in cosmic signs. Just like our buyer who ignored the superb car design and became fixated on a button. His ignorance of the function of the button was his proof to deny the design of the car when the signs of design and efficiency were evident in every part of the car. Yet, the buyer shifts the burden of proof to the seller. Tell me its function. That was a sufficient response to the claims about randomness in the retina. What if I told you that their claim is an old joke they play on the ignorant? True science, as usual, has turned this doubt into a new sign for capability and wisdom. Research, even in evolutionist journals, has shown for many years that retinal cells must be arranged in this exact order, as it provides a superior space-saving solution, as in this Vision Research article. Indeed, this arrangement allows light to pass through the Muller cells, which increases the sensitivity of the conical cells in the retina, as per the research done by PNAS and Nature Communication. Even the pro-evolution website phys.org confirms that this setup is not a defect but a design advantage, a design feature, and that the assertion that sensitive cells should be at the front is folly. To those who are taught by the Arab myth zealots, I say, good for you. Your teachers are teaching you things which, years ago, were declared to be follies, while you think that you're listening to intellectuals addressing your mind. We've only mentioned one type of cell, the Muller cell, through which light passes. You can read in the evolutionist journal, Nature, about the 13 types of bipolar cells found in the eye layers, the function of each, and how their arrangement in the retina supports the vision function. Read about the amacrine cells in these layers, and other cells. Then listen to the myth zealots saying, the arrangement of cells is wrong. Ask any creationist for an explanation of this phenomenon. He wouldn't find any. Listen to them in order to appreciate this comedy of ignorance or pretending ignorance. Glory be to Allah. The doubts about Allah's creation are also transformed, by true science, into additional proofs for the knowledge and wisdom of Allah. The doubts about Allah's creation are also transformed, by true science, into additional proofs for the knowledge and wisdom of Allah. You may say, but you use evolution magazines to support your arguments. Yes. As explained in the episode, let me do the thinking for you. We do not let the West do the thinking for us. Instead, we benefit from their science, without blindly following its conclusions. We don't follow the wisdom of Ahmet Ağaoğlu, a Turkish secular leader who said, we are determined to take everything from the West, even the infections in their lungs and the impurities in their intestines. Rather, we take what is correct and leave the intellectual impurities to their owners. We've mentioned what natural scientists, evolutionists, or otherwise say. We're throwing the words of their sanctified scientists in their face for a compelling case. We use their science if their research methodology is correct, but not their conclusions if their methodology is corrupt and full of logical fallacies. We have a right to ask, if someone saw the Sukhoi Su-47, the fighter jet, with its reversed wings flying spectacularly through the sky, then laughed, saying, this is a bad design, This jet came together by chance. Would this person belong anywhere other than a mental institute? Even without knowing that, this inverted wing design enhances the aircraft's agility and maneuverability. So, why are the claims by the myth disciples that retina construction is proof of randomness regarded by some as respected science? Even while we see them claiming this nonsense with our so-called defective eyes which function with exquisite accuracy and efficiency, even if we didn't know that the retina's layout is what provides this accuracy. When a myth disciple tells you the appendix is an extra appendage, it is a remnant of evolution that has not disappeared yet. If we are created by design, why would a creator create something useless? As Jerash Qunaibi and other myth scientists claim, if you're asked this question, how do you answer? Let's assume that you are unaware of the research published a few months ago by evolutionists with Ph.D.s, which stresses the importance of the appendix and that it isn't vestigial, that it contains all kinds of beneficial bacteria of the digestive tract to replenish the intestinal bacteria after an illness that may destroy them, and that it produces immunoglobulin A, which is an essential regulator of beneficial bacteria in the digestive system. Moreover, removing the appendix increases the chance for several diseases. By the way, some of this information has been known for years. Let's assume that you're not up to date on published research which states that the appendix could save your life. Even if you are unaware of all this, don't let the myth disciples shift the burden of proof onto you. You are not the one who must explain. They are. Ignorance about a part's function in the gastrointestinal tract isn't proof that it all came randomly. Let them explain how randomness and coincidence created the digestive system. The arrangement of your teeth, the different types of taste buds, the variety of enzymes secreted at each stage, the muscles needed to move the food, the sphincters working in perfect harmony, and the cilia and villi in the intestines which provide a surface area equivalent to an apartment, to increase the absorption capacity of the intestine. Let them tell you about the trillions of different beneficial bacteria in your gut and their various functions, about the enteric nervous system and its complexity. These marvels of creation mean nothing to the blind at heart. They toss them aside and cling to the extra appendix. Not only are they ignorant or pretending to be ignorant of its function, but they also use their ignorance as proof. Therefore, when some Arab parrots repeat the words of Richard Dawkins in his book, The Greatest Show on Earth, The Evidence for Evolution, that a man's sperm duct should have been shorter, and that it is a design defect which proves randomness. Even if you're unaware of the research on the importance for the sperm duct's span in maintaining thermal differences between the testicles and the rest of the body, you're not obligated to do the research. Don't let them shift the burden of proof onto you. Instead, let them explain to you how their ridiculous randomness can produce the male and female of more than 8 million species, synchronously. Let them tell you about the innate sexual attraction between mates and the mating instinct in tiny mindless creatures. Let them talk to you about the creation in pairs that Allah Almighty praises as a sign from an all-knowing, all-wise Creator. And of all things we created 2 pairs, perhaps you will remember. So flee to Allah. Indeed, I am to you from Him a clear warner. But instead of fleeing to Allah, they flee to ignorance and feigning ignorance. They ignore these clear signs of wisdom in the mating system and arrogantly say, the sperm duct should have been shorter. If it was designed with knowledge and wisdom, we would not find such faults. They suggest modifications to the human design as if they were all-knowing gods who know the past, present, future, and how everything could have turned out. They have denied that which they encompass not in knowledge and whose interpretation has not yet come to them. Isn't it shameful to deny things out of ignorance or lack of knowledge? Dear brothers and sisters, we're not only dealing with logical fallacies here, but also with an ethical problem of excessive arrogance combined with extreme ignorance or intentional negligence, which led atheists to be disrespectful towards cosmic phenomena, which, out of respect for science, they should respect. This has resulted in great irreverence towards Allah by their Muslim fans, who claim faults in creation while trying, in vain, to reconcile the myth with Islam. A surgeon, regardless of how devout an evolutionist he is and how much he talks about randomness in the human body, will always operate with utmost care not to disrupt the system in the human body, because implicitly he knows that it is the best system possible. Finally, some of you might think that our opening acting scene was an exaggeration, as the buyer didn't seem to know the function of the gas pedal. You should know that the myth disciples say and do similar things. For example, Wiedersheim produced a list of useless vestigial organs, which included the pituitary gland. Nobody knew then that this gland regulates all the hormones in the body. These are just a few brief examples, brothers and sisters. When a myth disciple brings up a new issue and shifts the burden of proof onto you, ask him, her, aren't you embarrassed by the repetitive proof of your ignorance? Do you expect me to waste my life responding to you? What we presented is abundant proof for those who are truly seeking guidance. Once again, we thank our brothers at the Muslim Researchers website, whose research has provided great benefit. Peace be upon you.